covers to the normal additional covers policies is directors and officers. Directors and officers is an additional policy that you can buy. We're talking £250 for £250,000 worth of cover, and this covers costs involved if a claim is brought against any of the directors or officers of the company, stroke management company. As a management company, it's most likely claims would be from employers, regulatory bodies or the general public. So if, using the example of someone fell over a loose stone in the car park and they brought a claim against one of the directors, then if that went to court, the costs involved in defending that, this is the policy that covers it. Obviously fines aren't covered, but the costs involved, which can run to tens of thousands of pounds, is covered. It's something that's pretty new for property owners, management companies, directors and officers, but more and more claims are being brought against the management company because of their lack of duty of care has caused someone injury. HSE, Health and Safety Executive, if they make a prosecution against the director of the management company because they failed to address something which has ultimately caused damage, they would come to you directly, and that extends the directors and officers policy, extends to the actual director of the management company and any officers, so anyone who's involved in that. It's probably something that's going to become more and more standard, and for the cost of it, if you're thinking, when you add it onto the overall bill, it's not a lot of money to make sure that directors who are probably volunteers at the end of the day, not getting paid, it covers them because they can find themselves in court because they're just trying to help the other residents out. So it's something that it needs to be looked at. Directors and officers. The other thing we have is the statutory inspection policy. Mainly for yourselves would probably be lifts. LOHAR regulations require a passenger lift to be inspected every 6 months. They kind of go hand in hand here. If someone's injured in a lift and it wasn't inspected within 6 months, HSE could bring a prosecution against the management company because they didn't adhere to the LOHAR regulations. A statutory inspection policy can be £150, and it gives you an insurance company to come out and inspect it every 6 months and give you the signed certificate to say that you comply. Mostly you might have a maintenance contract with someone which would take care of this. You just need to make sure that it has. If you get a new lift installed, there's usually 18 or 24 months where they'll give you the free inspections to make sure it's all going on. After that, it may be down to yourself. The other point is that you get a lift through a manufacturer and they might be charging you £500 for the inspection, where the same qualified engineer can do it for around £150, £175 on an annual policy. And again, it can be linked in with your other policies, so it's paying as a lump sum. So it's something that you might want to look at. I wouldn't have thought there'd be much other engineering equipment in your flats. Lifts is probably the one that sprung to mind when I was putting this together, so most places would have a lift. Pitfalls, high calibre insurer, don't just buy in cost, you get what you pay for. Going back to the policy covers, some insurers will give you the cheapest price, but that means some of the standard covers, loss of keys, we don't cover that. It's making sure that you're using it really is a high street name. Aviva, RSA, AXA, Zurich, them type of names that you've probably come across anyway are the ones that you want to stick with. Again, this should be your broker. If your broker comes back and says we're using Gable and they're based in Liechtenstein, which is an insurer which we come across very often, you might get it for £1,000 cheaper, but they'll never ever pay a claim. So it really is get what you pay for. Again, that comes back to your broker. Most brokers now will only use A-rated insurers. If they're not using an A-rated insurer, you have to sign something to say you're happy with this, not A-rated insurer. We only use A-rated insurers, and it wouldn't be professional from our point of view to put forward someone who wasn't. So it definitely is, you get what you pay for. Property cover through a sums insured perspective, again this comes back to the buildings insured and the communal areas as well, making sure it's right. Again, average applies, so if it's wrong, not only will you be reduced on the amount of claim you'll pay, they'll also reduce that amount by the amount you were underinsured. So your buildings insurance might have been in place for 20 years. Is it index linked? Does it go up 4 or 5% every year with the cost of inflation, or is it the same as what it was 20 years ago? The costs of rebuild and building has gone up 5-fold, materials, labour. So a rebuild cost 5 years ago is well out of date today, so it's something that you need to make sure. As I said, independent companies can come and do a valuation. It's not cheap, £800 to £1,000 to get it done, but it gives you the peace of mind that if something does happen. When we always say about total loss and worst case scenario, if there is a roof damage claim and it's £1,000, if they send a loss adjuster out and he realises then you're underinsured, he'll reduce that £1,000 claim to the underinsurance as well. So it's not just based on if it's down and rebuilt, a loss adjuster will give a rough value of it if he comes out to inspect the claim.